Greetings and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerers Guild. Today on Sorcery Self-Defense, we are going to talk about Bellyfire, and I'm going to do a demonstration on how to summon Bellyfire. But we're also going to first be talking about the Ego Inflation Power Sap and why it is especially important to those of us in the Otherkin community. But this is an extremely important topic for anyone that is practicing magic, because it is one of the ways that we can lose some of that power. And there are ways to guard against it that we're also going to be talking about. Okay, so first, like I said, we'll be talking about the Ego Inflation Power Sap, what it is, what problems it can cause, how to avoid it. Then I will do a demonstration on Bellyfire, and we will talk about how to use it as a form of gnosis and how to use it in certain types of magical workings before we finally get on to using it in actual physical self-defense. Now, we're not going to be covering the physical self-defense today. That is going to be coming up in the playlist, but we are working our way towards that. Okay, so Ego Inflation Power Sap then. What is it? The Ego Inflation Power Sap is when part of our intent in a spell goes into our ego rather than into the intent or creation of the spell. This is a form of split intent. Now, like I said, this is especially important for those of us in the Otherkin community, and I felt like I wanted to get this out for my own sake before I continue on with the Demon's Child stories, because these do, well, in some ways involve me and my ego. So, when I'm talking about these things, I want to make sure that I'm not trying to make myself feel more kind, more changeling, whatever you want to call the thing that I like to think of myself as. Either way, there is, like I said, there's a tendency to want to do magic to feel magical, no matter what your personal definition of that is. And it's important that we keep that out, because it becomes very pernicious. It clings to us. This idea of wanting to feel magical. Yeah? So much so that how it begins is easy enough. You start casting a spell, and as you're casting the spell and you're focusing on that moment of intent, that statement of intent, there is part of you thinking, oh, I'm such a cool sorcerer. As you're doing this, there's part of you getting a little bit of that ego burst from it. I'm such a fairy, I'm such a vampire, I'm such a whatever. Yeah? Now, I'm not saying that there's a problem with feeling that you identify with these things. Like I said, I myself am part of the Otherkin community, but we need to keep it out of that moment. We need to keep the ego inflation out of the intent of our spellcraft. Now, really, being a fairy or fae or kind or any type of other thing, we have to also understand that this does not actually make us special in any significant way. All beings that perceive are equal. Yeah? It does make us different. It allows us to differentiate ourselves from what is currently conceived as human. However it is that you want to step away from that. Yeah? And of course, I'm not denying the idea that people really were this or that in past lives, or are this or that in their soul now. But even that does not make us special. It is what helps us differentiate from what is currently defined as human. The Ego Inflation Power Sap starts as that, this little bit of feeling powerful rather than acting with power. There's the key word. That's the thing to say. It is that desire to feel powerful rather than acting with power. That's where it begins. And once the ego starts to inflate, well, it can feel good. And it will actually become a spell in and of itself that gets a little bit more each time you do a spell work. And at first, you might not even notice the effect on your magic. And in fact, the way it works, you are essentially casting an illusion on yourself of being powerful. So you're not going to notice when your magic stops working, or you'll find other reasons why your results aren't appearing besides yourself and what you were doing. But it is there, and it can remove power from us. And it also can lead us into wilder and crazier paradigms as we search out that high of being more powerful. Okay, so how do we avoid this? Well, actually, let's get to a little bit more about what exactly it causes. It says each time we do that, it draws away from the intent of the spell. Like I said, it's a double intent. And the bigger it gets, the more we feel powerful, the more that draw becomes, the more of our power gets drawn away into that intent of making us feel powerful rather than acting with the power of the spell. So this is a very important thing to get out of the way because it will inhibit your magic. This is one of the largest things I see inhibiting people's magic that actually do have potential and were getting somewhere. It's something that I concern myself with a lot, especially now that I'm public and speaking about what I do. I'm constantly doing stuff to remind myself that the magic is what matters, not me. In that moment, the intent of the moment when we are casting the spell work, yes, I do matter, and my desires are part of why I cast spellcraft. But if I allow my ego to get in the way of my intent, then I may not achieve my desires. So, this is why we keep the ego inflation power sap at bay. And how do we do that? Well, one is to remind yourself of it. Simply reminding yourself that this power sap exists and constantly keeping a close monitor on the results of your work. Check your magic. Keep yourself in check. But also to remind yourself that no matter how powerful you get, none of us are special. All things that perceive are equal in the grand scheme of things. And we must keep this focus. We must remind ourselves of this. Because otherwise, we can get drawn away into wanting that image to be more, to allow it to inflate, to become more than what it is, and become intent, and the creation becoming the intent. Or you can control that urge and go full cringe, if you will, by actually using some of your spell work to make yourself feel that way, to make yourself feel more fey, actually casting spell work to make yourself more fey and working on creating an astral image that is the one you desire to achieve. And in fact, it's best to do both these things because this won't make you feel more. Should not make you feel more special either because then you're still in danger. Yeah? Okay. So we can actually spend some of our time working on creating this image and doing some of the soul shifting, like I have talked about in previous videos, with the idea of altering and controlling the actual shape and astral form of our souls. And that way we have a time to give in to this need to reshape ourselves and feel a certain way. Because it isn't always just feeling powerful that gets into the ego inflation power sap. It can be needing to feel more elven and simply casting to feel more yourself. Yeah? Because there is a realness to the otherkin phenomena that can't be discounted. And so sometimes we will cast simply to feel more in touch with those things. And yes, that can be something that helps us feel more in touch with that. But we cannot let it be the intent, or else we're once again falling into the ego inflation power sap. So instead, go ahead and make that the actual intent for some of your workings, and putting yourself in touch with that aspect of yourself. And then, when you're casting other spells that are not involved with that, the temptation to put that in as a bit of a side thing in the back of your mind becomes less. And this helps us avoid the ego inflation power sap. Okay, now, like I said, this is going to be a twofer, and I did warn that this next part we're going to sound a little bit more like a Dragon Ball episode, but now we're going to talk about summoning Bellyfire. Summoning Bellyfire comes from the belly. Like I said before, this isn't really chakra work. You want to picture or allow, picture it first, flames, yellow and orange, rising from the belly, kindling into flame and bursting up and forth. This isn't something from the chakras. This burns from the belly and rises like flame into your hands and through you and up and over you. It is vitality, but it is a burning consumption. It is a power of destruction. It is fire from within. Okay, so we bring this up. We rise it forth. We bring it into ourselves. Simply from the belly, orange, yellow, burning, turning, rise up and out and into the hands. To disperse it is to bring that heat forward, pull it into the hands through friction. The friction of your hands creates heat, pulling that fire out and blowing it away. Okay, so I said we were going to talk about some other uses for it besides the self-defense motions of what it is primarily used for. This can be used in any destructive, purifying working. Bellyfire actually has healing abilities because you can bring up that fire and bring it into your hands and use it to burn away impurities and impart vitality into another person. We can also bring that vitality up and forth to bring vitality to ourselves and inner healing. Allow that vitality, that burning fire to rise up and burn away any impurities in your body, leaving behind only clean, strong. But we can also bring that belly fire up and charge a sigil with belly fire. And this is a very raw form of energy, this belly fire. This is physical energy created by the chemical reaction going on in our bellies. That's why it is summoned from there, because there is the reaction of the food being digested in our stomach that is of that same destructive power. That is the raw source of the belly fire. And we pull the vitality from it, from our stomachs, from the acid digesting the food in our stomachs, and it becomes yellow and orange, and it rises and comes up, and we push it and allow it to flame up into our hands, and then we push it into the sigil. And that is how we would charge a sigil with Bellyfire. Okay, I do suggest that one eats well, both before and after long working with Bellyfire, because, well, it takes up energy to do this. I don't know if it would work as a weight loss strategy, but it does take up actual energy to do this. It burns calories to summon Bellyfire. And then, like I said, once it comes up, you do need a way to get rid of it. So you need to actually work with the energy and push it back out of you. You can put that into a sigil. You can push it through the vitality of your body and allow it to disperse into the air by bringing it up through and out and burning away any impurities or toxins in your system and restoring vitality to your frame and up and out. Or you can rub it and throw it away. This can also be used as a technique for controlling your anger, because anger is a thing of Bellyfire. You feel that anger coming up, you can use it to invoke Bellyfire, and we will talk about that as well in future episodes as we work up to it. But we can use it to just into the hands, pull that anger into the hand, rub the hands, pull that anger into the hands with the rubbing, and then throw it away. Okay, that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you once again for joining us. I will get back to the Demon's Child story eventually, but I needed to talk about the Ego Glorification Power Sap before I continued with that for my own purposes. Like I said, we are all susceptible to the Ego Glorification Power Sap, and it's important to check ourselves with this. Even if we are using the technique of actually giving into that urge, or not necessarily giving into that urge, but allowing that urge to have its proper place. Even when we are allowing for that, we still need to be constantly checking ourselves, making sure we are not feeling that we are above, because that is not the path to power. The path to power is not feeling powerful. The path to power is acting with power. Okay. Until next time, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.